Mike, we're live.
And we're back to
And
the
we're back.
world's shortest podcast.
I don't think it's the world's shortest podcast.
Well, it's
Mike,
like 15 minutes.
you haven't spent enough time on TikTok. Hey,
Spend any time on TikTok.
hey, I have, there are a lot of really silly things about Jake. I'm going to tell you one of the silliest. You want to know what I did this morning that I absolutely love doing? Like, I am still like a kid every time I do this. I met one of our great security strategists
And
this
had
morning.
him pull your finger.
No,
No, that's not it. Okay.
that's not it, but that's close. That's
Okay.
close. No, I rode one of those little scooters around Seattle.
Mhm.
And I love that. I love riding those little scooters.
Your risk management gene has not expressed properly, I can see.
No, I have skydived. I've bungee jumped. No,
Yeah, there's something
Yep.
wrong with you.
Yep. Well, we knew that. Hey, so for the first time ever, so Mike has been doing the Daily Blast for 15 years. And what the Daily Blast is Mike sends out about 20 headlines a day, every day, every weekday, and he's done it for about 15 years. Little hiatuses here and there. It's the plural of hiatuses. Hiatai. Anyway, but for the first time, we put a survey in it. Hey, do you like the blast? Mike, what have you seen in the survey?
So, we have 80 something respondents so far. And so I looked at some results this morning, and what I took away was this. Um, most people say that the number of articles that we throw out every day is pretty much right on. Not very many people are saying, yeah, that's really too many, because it's like 15 to 20 every day.
Yeah.
But that's how fast stuff is happening. There is a pretty even distribution as to what kind of articles people would like to see.
Mhm.
The nation state stuff, the regulatory stuff, the government stuff, threats and vulnerabilities, stuff like that. It's pretty evenly distributed. So that's, I think, a good result.
And if folks want to sign up, you can go to criticalinsight.com. Just go to the bottom of the homepage, and then there's a place you can sign up there.
Look for the dippy picture of me. Yeah.
Look at the great picture that I took of Mike Hamilton.
And it turns out a lot of people re-forward the blast. And I'm actually glad we asked that question, because I've always wondered, really how far this thing goes. I mean, I know that we have 3,600 people or something like that actively receive it, but then it goes on, I think, after that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. This thing you started, not so bad.
Well,
not so bad, Mike.
The original intent was to get the folks that I worked with at the city of Seattle, who were all in different departments doing different things, to get them up to speed on our lexicon and what events are happening that could land on the city's doorstep. And nobody ever wanted it to stop, so that's what I do. That's what I do every night.
Yep. Hey, the other thing we did this week, we did yesterday, is we did a panel on your 2023 cyber predictions. And we started it with a real moment of honesty where we went to the 2022 predictions and said whether we were right.
And I think we did pretty well on last year's predictions. I viewed the YouTube thing of us, and a lot of the answers to, did we get this right, were kind of yes and no. It was kind of a nuanced yes. There were 3 pretty hard yeses in there. So yeah, I think that was pretty good. I do think we made a lot of predictions this time, and sorted them into nation state regulatory technical predictions. Some of the things that Fred brought up in terms of the technical predictions, I thought were really right on. Some of the key technical things we're going to be looking at in the following year are automation management, because automated stuff isn't really automated. I mean, you really do have to manage all these things, especially if it's a bunch of stuff stitched together. Cloud security posture management is going to be a big deal. Already you go to a conference and that's what a whole lot of vendors are selling. Cloud workload protections platform, cloud native application protection platforms. These are all going to be technical buzzwords. I don't think it's going to kill zero trust the way zero trust killed blockchain And I don't know where XDR is right now in terms of a buzzword, but things are a little fluid right now.
I was just talking to an analyst from one of the big analyst firms, and they said XDR is really falling away. That
Mhm.
it's just like it's too complicated. Everybody has different definitions, and they don't. They were like, well, we because somebody had said, hey, are you going to do a magic quadrant? The things that the analysts do on XDR, and they're like,
Yeah.
no. So anyway, very interesting.
Well, I thought it was great that Fred also brought up, the fact that it's hitting zero trust is hitting the peak of inflated expectations and about headed for the trough of disillusionment. Which, if you're a Gartner fan at all, you know exactly what we're talking about.
I think something called zero trust in the trough of disillusionment works well in a in
Yeah,
a
it
in a
does.
in a maybe that should all be in desolation sound or something. All right, anyway.
Rhetorically, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Nothing good will come of this. Yeah. All right. News. There's a lot of news that happened in the last week. No.
Yeah, and hey, we're able to do this 2 weeks in a row, so great. So it's only a week's worth of news. Um, uh, uh, Citrix, what's it called? Application Delivery Controller (ADC) under active exploit right now, and I think it's Chinese actors going after it. Fortinet also under active exploit. There's patches out. Get that stuff patched for real. Did you see this T-Mobile court case? Yet another court case about big insurance
Yep.
things,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
This one was a little different because it's saying, yes, the insurance has to cover you even if you paid the deductible with proceeds from another settlement. And it seemed like this was just a really specious claim by the insurer to make anyway, right? You paid for your deductible using money you got from this other source, and so we're not going to honor your claim. Come on. So again, insurance companies now are finding out that they can't hide behind the war exclusion,
Right.
and then some of this other trickery.
Right.
Um, do you know what InfraGard is?
I do know what InfraGard is.
Did you know InfraGard has been hacked and all the contact information lifted for
I
basically what
did
is a
know that
citizen
InfraGard has
FBI?
been hacked
Yep, because you read the blast.
because I read the
Um,
blast.
that's interesting. And myself, Mike Simon, know a number of people that are a little agitated about that because they're in there. Um, this one is from the Department of Obviousness Department. Russian disinformation is rampant on platforms without content moderation. Right? Who could have predicted? Who could have predicted that? So if you're on one of the kind of rump social media platforms, a lot of what you're seeing is coercion by the Russians to get you to believe something. Wipers are being used routinely now. They're all over the place. And you and I predicted this was going to, when the first one showed up, said, this is going to be a problem. Now it is a problem.
And by the way, as you mentioned last week, wipers are a bigger problem because you and I were naive. We were naive. We said we thought what would happen is they'd put in a wiper and then everything would be gone. No, it's
Yeah.
worse than that. It's that the bad guys are putting in the wiper but still charging a ransom,
Still
lying,
extorting. Yeah.
still extorting, still lying and saying, "Oh, we'll give your data back," and then you send them, all of your Bitcoin, and then lo and behold, there's no data, but you can't get your Bitcoin back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is terrorist activity, really. I mean, depending on what the target is.
I mean, back to that "don't trust a criminal" thing, right?
Yeah. Did you see California Department of Finance has been hit with ransomware and probably records?
Didn't. That's nice.
Yeah. So apparently money isn't affected. And this is always when somebody gets, flattened, the first thing they say is, oh, but customer data hasn't been affected. Dude, you don't know that yet.
I was going to say,
Look over there. This thing didn't happen.
right, like the bad guys are in your system. There's a breach of a media entity where they told all the employees, "Oh, none of your data was taken." I'm like, but they were able to lock up employee files. Why do you what? Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently there are just tons and tons and tons of applications that are used by schools
Hmm.
for doing, helping students to handle their schedules, taking attendance, things like that. 96% of them share that student data with advertisers, and this is going to end up getting ugly. Right? Student data regulated by FERPA. I don't know if any of this is personally identifiable. It's probably not, but still, especially in California, you start messing around with privacy stuff, the class action's going to hit you. And speaking of lawsuits, did you see Rackspace got hit with a lawsuit?
Not a surprise. I mean, anytime there's a big breach, there's a lawsuit that follows, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if this was going to be successful. They're saying they had a lack of backup protocols and unmanaged vulnerabilities. Some vulnerabilities stuck around for more than a year. Sometimes you
Anyone can
accept
file a lawsuit.
anyone can file a lawsuit. Um, Russian agencies are being hit with wipers. Talk about wipers. This just came out this morning, but it was discovered on December 9th. Epic has been popped. Right, Epic is the company that makes the electronic health records available. Right, there are
Hmm.
systems that handle electronic health records. Epic and Cerner are basically the two companies that do that. Well, Epic has been hit, so this is going to end up getting
There are more
interesting.
EHRs than that. There's
There
Meditech. There's
are
a bunch of
those are the
others.
two that
Yeah. Those are the big ones. I guess one of I have not dug too deeply into that. Um, do you have you seen how many hospitals are impacted, and if anybody with an Epic instance needs to be worried, or what the parameters are?
Yeah, well, so as I read it, and there's very little information being right. I mean, this just came out today.
Yeah.
What I would worry about is something Fred dove into yesterday, is the ability for, if that organization's been penetrated, they have source code for Epic out there, and if they backdoor the source the way Solar Winds got
Hmm.
backdoored, and for sure they're going through that code line by line now. um, they That means every hospital that is an Epic customer is could be potentially affected. Today it's only Epic the organization. When they send out software updates, we'll find out whether or not they cleaned them up. Hmm.
That gives me a lot of heartburn.
Yeah, oh, it could, yeah, it could be really bad, but the experience of the Solar Winds thing is, helping to guide what's going on here. For sure the FBI and Homeland Security are in there helping.
Yeah, yep. I mean, Epic is downplaying it, of course. So
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what
that's their
happens.
job.
All right, threats and vulns, Mike.
Yeah. So I
Are there
talked.
any, or is everything fine? I mean,
No, everything's fine.
I mean,
Except,
my computer has asked me to update, 85 times this week, but
yeah.
seems like everything's fine.
Well, it's time for the reboot because Microsoft patches are out, and it's like 4 dozen vulnerabilities that are being addressed. A
Hmm.
couple under active exploit. One's a PowerShell problem that they're being a little closed mouthed about. So, if you got the little orange dot, it's time to reboot. Fortinet, I talked about Fortinet. There's a botnet that's breaking into WordPress sites. It's called the GoTrim botnet. We're getting warnings about both this royal ransomware and the Lockbit characters. And Lockbit is what got the California Department of Finance being
Oh,
warned about both those being directed at the health sector. Our poor
got it.
health sector gets kicked every day. Microsoft certificates being used to sign malware. It looks like there's services out there that are signing malware with stolen Microsoft certificates. That's
Oh, well,
awesome.
that's nice.
So we trust the malware. Linux chaos malware. It maintains persistence by downloading itself every 10 minutes from pastebin. That's an interesting technique. A whole bunch of EDR agents were found to have a weird vulnerability where you could cause them to delete files, arbitrary files. A few of these have been patched, and Microsoft Defender is one of the ones that's been patched. But there's a whole bunch that aren't.
Hmm.
You may want to dig up that article and see if this applies to you.
Hmm.
And the Pulse Secure VPNs, the gift that keeps on giving. Apparently, despite the fact that going back to 2021, these things have been just abused. If you're not keeping them up, there's like 4,000 of them that have been identified as facing the internet and are unpatched. So sitting ducks.
And one more thing, don't forget to update your iPhones if you have iPhones.
Yeah, well, iPhones, Android too.
Yep.
Patch Chrome.
Okay. So, Mike, at the end of all of these is a kicker. It's the story you have that's supposed to make us smile. You have always you have failed for the most part.
For the
What do you
most part.
got?
Well, I'm just not wired to make everybody smile, I don't
You're
think.
not. You're not.
But I did like this article, and it's actually a couple of weeks old now. It turns out, the robotics company that makes the dogs, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Boston Dynamics.
Uh-huh.
So law enforcement buys those for different things,
Yeah.
and San Francisco announced that it was going to use one of these robots, or possibly more than one, as a bomb diffusing device. Okay, not really a diffusing device. They said what we're going to do is we're going to connect a bomb to this thing and walk it up to a bomb and blow it up. So right away, no killer robots campaign started, and they shamed the San Francisco Police Department into deciding that, yeah, but you know what, maybe killer police robots are not the best idea, and so they've dropped that.
I can see a robot jumping around Ghirardelli Square.
Coming down Lombard.
twisting down Lombard. Right.
Yeah.
Seems like a. Oh, well, good. I'm glad that there's going to be no killer robots.
See, you laughed. You laughed.
I
I think you
laughed
laughed
at
more
you,
about
not with
Lombard
you.
Street. Yeah.
I did. I love San Francisco. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. If you don't get the blast, make sure to sign up for the blast. If you get the blast and you haven't taken the survey, make sure to take the survey in the blast. Mike's actually getting good data from that, and we hope that you laughed at least one of the questions in the blast in the blast survey. All right, everybody. There's killer robots coming your way, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.